Day one in Knoxville, back here after a couple years, and overall it was a great day.
Great day.
For us personally. I think as we've kind of known, the B.Friendly team is kind of increased in its presence week by week. We were split up across the world in week one. Week two, we had Patrick and I over in California, and this week we got Chad back here down with us, and David joining us as well this weekend. So strong team, and hopefully have some strong content coming out. Obviously, also semifinals is a nice time of year because 3 weeks in a row, same programming, very similar layout, and so we can kind of evaluate and refine a little bit. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the content that we're putting out and will be putting out. As far as the venue goes, we were talking about it earlier today in the competition here. I think it's a combination of several things. Wilson Pack obviously is a phenomenal competition organizer, and that sentiment was echoed across the Coliseum and around the grounds today by many people. Of course, again, it is week 3. And so in terms of just the running of the competition, from the judging, from the scoring, from the competition side, broadcast side, and everything across the board, there's opportunity to learn, make small changes. And hopefully by week 3, everything should be running really smoothly. I will say that in terms of the judging, this is a bigger judging team than it was in West Coast. I think, again, similarly, it's just easier place to get to. There's a lot of international judges here, a lot of experienced judges here. I think that pretty much on every heat, when you see 10 judges in a row anywhere, at least 4 and sometimes up to 8 of them have team lead, assistant head judge, or head judge experience, either in their own countries, own competitions. Many of them have judged high-level competitions like Rogue, Wadapalooza, CrossFit Games in some cases. So just a lot of things that are, I think, working in the favor of this competition this weekend. And then finally, the big ticket item that we're going to spend most of the night on is just the athletes, the caliber of the athlete from team to female to male division. Across all the heats today, it was intense, it was exciting, it was electric, they were impressive, and that's what we were expecting, and we're expecting a lot more of it over the weekend.
I do want to bring up, by the way, great topic regarding the judges. But when you have the AFJ president and vice president, out on the judging lanes, like lane 7 and 3, it shows you how, we had Ed and I saw Jules was out there. They weren't the head judges, they weren't leads, they're out there judging. And I think that's something they've identified, and they even brought it up. And I think it's a testament of their leadership, leading from the front, saying, hey, we're not, we can be out there and judging. I thought that was really cool to see. And so shout out to him. Renata, oh my gosh. I'm so glad I got to meet her. She was the first person I met today, literally coming out of the media room. She's like, PC. I'm like, hello. It's like, Renata. And I'm like, oh my God. And she's like, can we take a picture? I'm like, great. It's just, she drove all the way from Connecticut. And
a lot of people have driven in. I even was talking with Noah Olson at the end of the day, and he said that his mom's driving down from Rhode Island. We drove from St. Louis, I drove from Charlotte, and we talked about the location just being advantageous. The crowd was really good today.
Very
community good. Workout was good. The vendor village was busy. The stands were, they weren't full. There was empty seats. There's still more opportunity if you want to come. But there were a lot of people on site, and they were engaged, and I think it was a good environment for the athletes.
Odd, yeah.
Did you see her today? I didn't see her.
I did not see her. I did not. But yeah, probably because of you. But Carl, yes, I'm still sticking with that out. I mean, great performance in that heat, but we saw a clear separation between that first heat and that second heat, and that was a workout Taylor was supposed to smash, and he did smash it. But the thing is, there's levels to this game, and we'll see. Again, if you look at the all 6 workouts, that was the one that probably. I mean, I would think that Taylor would probably have a top 5 finish in.
I think there might be there might be one more or 2 others.
Yeah,
but we'll get to the athletes in a second. But as long as HGR CBD is up here, as always, we want to thank them for their support. They've been a huge support for us this entire year, and couldn't be doing some of the stuff we're doing without them for sure. So if you have not checked out their stuff yet, highly encourage you to. If you're a fan of Taylor Self, he's been promoting their stuff as well, and I'm sure he's using it tonight to get his body ready for day 2 tomorrow as well.
I'm not talking shit. Talking shit would be like, yeah, I'm not talking shit. I'm just making an analysis. There's a difference.
The reality of this question, by the way, is that he would have finished exactly where he was or worse, because by his own sentiment, that was the best that he could have done. I don't think he had anything more to give there. We're not going to spend obviously the whole show talking about Taylor. There's a million good athletes here, but in terms of a runner, he's been a better runner in the past than he is now. He's been focusing on a lot of other things in the last 2 years to be able to have this opportunity again. And I actually think I'll be curious to see how going against a more competitive heat, there were 4 guys in that battle, which was fun, will be over tomorrow in 2 workouts that are, very different than today. So he said it himself also, he hasn't competed in a couple of years. So a lot still to be seen about Taylor, but I thought he got off to a great start today from a personal execution standpoint.
Yeah. And he got the nerves out. That was a good one for him to get the nerves out, because he said he got a lot of excitement and nerves, and for him to do that well in his heat and to finish a top 15 in that, it's a good thing. I mean, like I said, I hope he does make it. I really do. But anyways, enough Taylor talk. We'll talk about him later on here as well. But yeah. So
where do you want to start? Because I got
let's start with the women. Let's start with the women, because I mean, we're gonna start off with the women, because I know we have a lot to say about the men. And again, nothing because the men, I mean, they're all exciting, but I thought the men, just the way that ended, was exciting. So obviously one event today. So this is, the finishes are your leaders. Tia, I mean, some people predicted her winning 5 out of 6. Some people predicting a clean sweep. I don't think she'll have a clean sweep. I mean, you have Danielle Brand in the handstand. She's obviously the favorite in that. But what a way to start off. But she got a little bit of push.
Absolutely did. And it was from another woman who's, making a return to competition and has a pedigree for running. Quite frankly, these are 2 incredible runners, and they really, really distinguish themselves from the field. In the case of Tia Claire Toomey, she wins running workouts more often than not throughout her career, period. It doesn't seem to matter what you pair them with. And so it's not a surprise. Haley Adams against any field is almost a lock for a top 5 in any running event anywhere, regardless of the field, once again. So a second place and a first place, but just look at the time difference there. It was almost a minute between Haley and Emma Lawson. And again, Haley's she's cruising in there. Like there's no one else. Tia's already done. She's not rushing to finish those last couple reps. I think she was enjoying the moment a little bit. So they were, so far ahead of the rest of the field after 3 rounds that it was staggering actually to look at it. Knowing how good that athletes like Lawson, Brandon, Folo, Stanley, Wells was not in that heat, are in general, and they're good runners in their own regard.
I'll disagree with you. Tia was in a hurry to finish that, because she did 10 straight touch and go.
Well, I was talking about Haley.
Haley, yeah.
When after Tia had finished,
yeah,
Adams is looking around there, and there's nobody around, just her in the crowd. And it was actually, I thought it was a great moment for her to just be able to kind of, you talk about like with Taylor, like shaking the rust off, getting the nerves out. I didn't really see any nerves from Haley. She looked comfortable. She looked like she fell right back into step, but it's also pretty sweet to get just a 2.5 mile running workout with some barbell cycling thrown in there in your first event back in competition, something that clearly she feels comfortable doing. I spoke with Haley Amber Murillo, and she's like, Josh and I have been running with her trying to pace off of this, and Josh and I consider ourselves to be pretty fit individuals, and we certainly did not feel like it doing that. And I said, well, please don't feel bad, because there's a lot of really, really fit women in this field, and they felt just as kind of like, what is going on here, trying to keep up with the 2 of them.
Yeah. Let's talk about the surprise of this was Caroline Stanley, 4th place.
Yeah. Talk to her after that, because I think that amongst the big names here, besides the Toomeys and Adams, the Lawson, Raptus, Brandon, Brooke Wells, Amanda Barnard, etc. Like, you can sometimes forget about these other games athletes in the field, the Shelby Neals, the Caroline Spencers, Caroline Stanleys, Paige Semenzas, etc. but there, she made her presence known there. She told me, I grew up on a farm. I've run up and down hills my whole life, so the hills were kind of fun. And don't think I'm not a runner. People look at my body, and he goes, but basically, she was saying, I am one of those athletes, and I do belong in this field, and I do believe that I'm going to be in the fight this weekend. And she's got off to an incredible start.
Yeah, her and DB, they were kind of in. There was like 3 packs at the lead. There was Haley and Tia kind of going back and forth, and then there was Emma, and Emma was kind of separated from them, and there was like Caroline Stanley. Well, it was actually more DB, Erica Folo, and Paige Amenda, and then Caroline Stanley and DB. The last round they passed Erica Folo. Just they kicked it in high gear. I was really impressed. Like DB didn't actually look that tired to begin with. She sprinted that last 800 and she came in. She looked great.
Yeah, and two things. Two things about this workout is, it's a 5-round workout, and we did see some swings in terms of people starting out great and fading to the back. Jason Isaacs mentions Elena. It's a Alaina Savage, and I think actually, she started that event with a wrap around her calf. She's an amazing runner. And in round 4, she was like barely trotting around the course. So I think that she might have maybe tweaked that. And I saw her with medical afterwards. I have not talked to her, but that's what I'm thinking there. I don't think that she really died out in that event as much as whatever was bothering her with her calf to cause her to wrap that prior to even starting the event seemed to have flared up a little bit. She did look a little bit, she was moving better in round 5 than round 4, but by that time she was way off the pace and towards the back of the heat.
Yeah. Brooke, I mean, she dominated her heat as expected. I really would have liked to see her do that event with Haley and Tia, because I think she would have been in the mix with those athletes within the top 3.
I don't think she would have been within Haley and Tia, but I do think if you look at the times there, she came in 22, what is that, 49? And the times right ahead of her are pretty close. It's within 20, 30 seconds of Lawson in 3rd. So I think she would have been in that mix with that next pack of women. And look, like as good as she is, as accomplished as she is, and everything she's done in her career, she'd probably take the extra 6 points, if she could get them, even the extra 3 points. I think everyone would, because we've seen how close these things end up being. And you just never know. And on the flip side of that is Erica Folo, who, I think if you came in here and told someone, hey, she took 7th place on the running event, and these are the people who beat her, you'd be like, wow, that's an amazing start to the weekend. But again, you look at the times, and it's a few seconds here and there, and we know that she gave away some of those places towards the end of the workout. Brooke wasn't in her heat, but 4 seconds there, so it's like, it could have been a little better. I don't know. Is it still a great start? Absolutely. But Folo is a person who hasn't done it yet. And so she's more likely than a Brooke Wells to be on that cut line 2 days from now, and maybe looking back at that and saying, man, 5 more seconds. Did I have that in me? I don't know. So we'll see. But it was still nice to see her out there, because, we had her on the podcast. People have been talking about her, and I think she put a great showing out on day 1.
Yeah, definitely. And she did, she did a training camp, like I mentioned 2 weeks ago, with Jack and Emma, and they went through kind of some simulation of this. I mean, Josh did a great job. I mean, he even went down to go to the Mammoth Training YouTube channel when you get a chance. Subscribe to that. There's some great stuff. David So, Training Day Media, he's been filming them, the whole process, and you can kind of like go and just see how he thinks. Like, he had them sitting in a corral for 20 minutes before they went out and actually did these workouts. He's getting the stimulus. He's doing like splits. It's amazing stuff. Yeah, and I mean, this brings it up. Yeah, you're right. Paige did awesome.
Yeah, she was the one athlete that I really, like after seeing 2 weeks of semifinals, reflecting on the workouts and the athletes in this field a little bit, I felt like coming into this weekend, or my original rankings prior to semifinals, were a little low on her. And she came out of the greats and looked very, just experienced. It was a very steady pace from her from round 1 through round 5. I feel like she was not one that gained a couple or lost a couple spots late in the workout. She was pretty steady from start to finish. One that did make some moves during each round of the workout was Amanda Barnhart.
If you watched her from the first round, she was towards the end.
Yeah, she was in the back. But keep in mind that she started kind of where Saxon Panchik did. But even so, on the barbells, she was consistently coming in 1 to 2 people better in her heat. And it was just like, I felt like kind of just like death by a thousand cuts type of thing, where like she just kept chipping away, just kept grinding away, and others just started to drop off. And I think that in a field like this, where everybody knows how good the talent is and how deep the talent is, and it's day one, everyone's well rested. This is a trap that a lot of inexperienced athletes can fall into, is just going so hard, knowing there's opportunity and I have to seize it. But it's a 25-minute workout, 23-minute workout, and I think that the veteran experience of Barnhart wore away at some of the younger athletes in her heat.
Yeah. So we go from a veteran to basically a rookie, a little fish, but she, yeah, pun intended. But yeah, she finished second in her first heat, and she looked comfortable. She wasn't. I mean, she looked great. Her bar cycling. I did an interview with her. We'll post later, but she finished second to Brooke Wells. That's not a bad person to finish second to, and she actually came in and had no problem moving that barbell, and that's a great start for her. Especially in the interview we talked about, like last year, like the first workout, she got beat up. She couldn't move the sled, and then now she comes in with a CrossFit style workout and a top 10 finish, and this looks really good for her. Good start for her.
She'll be 20 this year, and she made her big jump really last year. She went from being outside of the top 700 in North America to being inside the top 35 in North America East. But if you extrapolate to West, we'll say it was like a 10 times improvement in 1 year in the quarterfinal stage. And she backed that up. I think she was 32nd last year, 31st this year. And she went and competed in the off season. And even though it was, Crash Crucible is obviously a great event, it's kind of a specialty event, but I've been talking about this concept of putting yourself in the hunt, putting yourself in competitions where you have a chance to fight for something meaningful, a podium, a win, some cash, whatever. And she came in, for someone who's 20 years old. If you were here and you had the chance to watch her do that workout, she also looked very poised from round 1 through round 5. Where every time she came by on the run, I saw her shoulders were relaxed. She had a control of her breathing. She had a consistent cycling on the barbell. This venue was a lot easier to go back and forth from inside and outside than any of the others we'd been at. So we could actually on site see more of each athlete doing this workout. I was very impressed with her. Amongst the really young athletes in the field, I thought that she managed this one better than most.
Yeah, I put her up there, her and Erica Folo, kind of like the two athletes that showed a lot this first workout. She finished ahead of her training think tank partner, Alexis Raptus, by less than 1/10 of a second. But that was in a different heat. So Raptus, I think it's a good start for Raptus. I don't really see much, her really struggling in any events from here on out, barring any type of injury or anything like that. Mary Helen Saunders, probably no surprise there if you know anything about her as an athlete. She's one of those capacity type athletes. So,
but different than a lot of these athletes. She's over 30 now. I think she'll be 32 this year, and she's really gotten in. She's been making a steady climb up the leaderboards consistently over the last 4 years. I mentioned in our live recap earlier, we didn't really talk much about her coming in. She was closer to 50th last year in the semis. She was, out of the top half the prior year to that. But I have a feeling that she's made some significant improvements in some other areas. So yeah, I would say this was one that was maybe a little more expected given her skill set. But I will be curious to see if she can maybe flirt with that top half finish here this year and be inside the top 20 by the time Sunday ends.
What do you think about Fee's finish here?
I think very similar to Alexis Raptus. Like, this is totally fine. I would not say that either one of them are runners, through and through. And there are some serious runners in this field. They're athletes that, especially Fee, like I don't think she's going to be in the top 3 or 5 on any of the workouts, but I don't think she's going to have any really bad workouts. So just steady finishes like this that keeps her close. A lot of other names in this range are going to have ups and downs throughout the weekend. And I think Fee's consistency across the board is kind of her calling card for this weekend to punch a ticket back to the games if she's going to do it. So this was, I think, a good start for her.
Yeah. And we, Kira Napoli, another younger athlete, she's 25, has a lot of semifinal experience. finishing there 14th. But Shelby Neal
came out of the first heat as well, Napoli.
Yeah, but Shelby Neal is somewhere like the 15th place. That's kind of like 15 to 20th. That's kind of the threshold I'm looking at. Like if you fall in that range as an athlete, you still have a chance. That's just kind of where I'm
I mean, look, we've seen people in the 30s plus that come back and have a chance, and even in the case of Victor Hoffer, make it by several spots. Tudor Magda, narrowly misses out. So this isn't a bad finish for anybody to be 15th on this workout. I think BKG was 15th or 16th on this workout, but
especially an athlete like Shelby Neal,
and she's in that group that I mentioned earlier that that has made the games. Has shown that she can done it. Before making it, she was close. It's not like she just came out of nowhere and did that. And her performances over the past several years, exactly. Her performances over the last years have been mostly consistent. And that is a movement that did her in a couple years ago, and we're going to get to see that on display tomorrow. So I think that great start for Shelby. I expect she'll have a really good workout tomorrow morning, and I'll be watching closely to see what she does tomorrow afternoon. Don't forget this stat that I've been throwing out there. 2 top 20 finishes on Saturday has been the recipe for success so far in Europe and North America West. So let's see if Shelby has shown that improved capacity with the legless rope climb in a little different format here, and if she can keep herself in the hunt.
Yeah, because last time she did legless rope climbs in this particular, arena, it wasn't a good time for her. Same with Brooke. Brooke struggled in the same venue. So, but I'm expecting to see different performances this time out. A couple names I want to kind of point out and get your opinion. Calista Lang, another young athlete, and Jordan Sheff. Jordan Sheff was someone that you're really high on going into this. You have her actually, I think 8th, or I forgot where you have her ranked heading into the semifinal, actually in a game spot. So your thoughts?
Probably the workout I was most concerned for Chefs about. I think she's going to climb from here. Calista Lang, I think we're going to see a lot of finishes from Calista between 12 and 25 this weekend. So I think this is just going to be kind of her sweet spot. She's really good. I think there are enough women in this field that it's going to be tough for her to have too many top 10 finishes. Look, she's still 23 years old. She's still she's still improving in many regards, but I would say expected for both of these to kind of be mid-pack in this first one. I think that Calista will have several workouts where she finishes better than 20th, and I think Jordan will have a couple top 10s and a lot. And this, I'm thinking this will be the lowest placement we see from her this weekend.
I have to agree. Let's talk about Carolyn Privo.
Man, that was
not a good start for her. Yeah.
The 25th is like we said, you can recover from that, but the way that she looked after the workout was not great. I mean, she had to be helped off the floor. She did not look very good. I think it had to be some kind of an overheating thing. We already know that double unders is kind of a landmine for her that's coming tomorrow morning. If she's physically not at 100% and has to deal with the one movement that's been a struggle for her for 500 reps in the morning. It was not the start that anyone wanted to see for Caroline Privo. And more than anything, I just hope she's all right. But yeah, that's going to be a tough one to rebound from, knowing what's tomorrow morning and knowing how she looked afterwards.
Another games veteran, 2 times games athlete, Caroline Spencer, 29th.
Yeah, I think she'll bounce back nicely from this tomorrow, but the top of this field is so good, and most of the top athletes got off to a good start that she's going to need a couple home runs and some help, I think, if she wants to climb back up there.
Yeah, and I was the athlete that I'm kind of been rooting for because she's just a cool person, and Ashley Wasney at 31st. I mean, she started off, I thought, fine, and I think she kind of fell apart.
I think of all the athletes down in this part of the leaderboard here after one event, I feel most comfortable for Wasney and Greer. Yes, I think that there's a bunch of workouts coming up that they can hit home runs on, and I think Wasney in particular is going to have a Sunday that looks a lot like Kelsey Keel, except maybe better on the handstand walk, a lot like Danny Spiegel. I think she's going to improve as the weekend goes on, and I don't think Wasney's making the CrossFit Games, but I think she'll be inside the top 20 by a good margin once everything settles on Sunday.
I mean, last year, her and Annika, they were both in the hunt. I mean, they're both training think tank athletes. They're one some of the last athletes cut that didn't make it. So, like you said, I mean, I could definitely see that scenario. But I mean, she looks. I told Ashley she looks. I mean, she looks leaner. She says she still has her strengths, which is great to hear. But I just think like her and in the case of Annika, I think they overheated and they went out maybe a little bit hotter than they needed to, and they kind of struggled the last 2 rounds. So, but
and by the way, we haven't really talked about it, but it was a pretty comfortable day for running. Like it wasn't crazy hot, and there weren't so these when we say that people are overheating, like that can be a variety of different things from just fueling to preparation, just overdoing it in the early rounds. But yeah, there was definitely some athletes that looked like they were struggling quite a bit on the last few rounds of the run. And that's a body language thing. And like I said, I didn't get to see that in France because I couldn't go in and out easily. I didn't go over to the football stadium. So here it was very nice to be able to see that. It's actually hard in CrossFit competitions, even in live competitions, to get a good opportunity to watch athletes run. And there was a vantage point that we could get to very easily from just outside the media area that we had there, where you could see the athletes running for maybe 70, 80 meters consecutively in a row. And you could really kind of key in on the breathing, the shoulder posture, and as the rounds wore on, I mean, everyone looks good in the first round. But I'm going to see how you look in round number 4. And both Wasney and Greer, you could see the deterioration of the overall workout as the rounds wore on.
Yeah, definitely. And that could be just something as like, just the heart rate just going a lot, just going a little bit harder than they anticipated with the barbell cycling. You throw that in there. So you guys think Greer can still qualify? I mean, I still think she has a chance. I mean, again, like you said, her and Wasney, the next 5 workouts, there's some home runs for both of them. And these are the better workouts. I mean, we knew going in, and I'm sure they knew they were probably hoping for more top 20 finishes. These are probably less than ideal, but they weren't planning on winning this event or finishing top 10. So it's still manageable, very manageable, especially with the field. There's going to be, just like everything we've seen the last couple of weeks, it's going to be a very volatile leaderboard. And the West Coast Classic showed that.
If you're Annika Greer or someone that's in her camp, you got to be thinking about Jonakowski here. This is exactly the placement that he took. He did not have a perfect run on Saturday. He did not have a perfect run on Sunday, and he still was only 3 spots away from qualifying. And there's an extra spot here compared to the men in Europe. So the belief has to be there. The potential is there. We know that people can come back from this. She can't afford another mistake. She can't afford a low finish. And she does have this kind of a capacity for a top 5 finisher, maybe 2 of those, which is a huge help, as we saw with someone like Tudor Magda or Victor Hoffer. So if she's able to capitalize on her strengths and mitigate the damage, yes, Annika Greer still has a chance to make it, but she's out of mulligans, so to speak.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And someone to keep alive. I mean, event 5, Dana Pran. If you, she may finish last in this one, but she's someone definitely keep an eye on for event 5 on the snatch ladder. So, yeah. So we'll switch over
absolutely.
to the.
We know she's got the weightlifting background, and she could have a very similar weekend to someone like Bronislaw, where she's going to have her highs, she's going to have her lows. It's probably not going to be good enough to make the CrossFit Games, but it doesn't mean that she can't still do something special.
All right, we'll go to the fun that was the men's event, event 1.
Oh man.
Yeah, I mean, just Adler won.
Actually, let's scroll down to the 11 through 20 range first, because I know that like not everyone got to watch this, but in this range of 11 through 20 or so are 4 athletes that came out of heat number 1. We talked about Taylor Self. He ends up doing the best of the 4. Alex Vigneault, who slots in 10 seconds behind him there and takes 13th. Evan Rogers ends up finishing about 12 seconds behind that, and then Garrett Clark comes in a little bit behind them. They were all of those athletes were really close through 3 rounds, and in round 4 there started the separation. But you look at Taylor, he comes away with 70 points in 11th place, and Garrett Clark comes with 49 points by finishing 18th. And if you just kind of watch, you'd be like, yeah, Taylor and Garrett had pretty similar workouts. They had pretty similar workouts, but they had dramatically different finishes on the floor and then with the points that they get. And those are the margins that matter in this field more than anywhere else in the world. So if you're Garrett Clark, Evan Rogers, Alex Vigneault, Taylor Self, and you look back at that workout, each of them is going to have a different evaluation of how they managed it. They ended up in this unique situation where all their 4 barbells happened to be next to each other, and they were the top 4 guys in their heat. That's rare in this layout for this particular event. Taylor, I thought had the best execution, and there ends up with the best score. Garrett was probably the slowest of the 4 on the barbell, and it really caught up to him in the last 2 rounds. And the 4th round of the barbells where he gave away a bunch of time. Vigneault was pretty steady throughout. He just didn't have the finishing kind of kick, whether that's that Taylor was kind of saving that, or Taylor just decided to go a little deeper than him at the end into the hurt. But still a solid finish for Vigneault. And, at the end of the day, like Evan Rogers, a 15th place finisher coming out of Heat 1 is very good. Mostly, I just wanted to show that, like, if you watch the workout, if you were here, or if I don't know how viewable it really is or not on the podcast, but they all seem to have a good Heat 1. But the results, even though they're all inside the top 20, that point gap is 21 points from the best of them to the worst of them.
Yeah. And Vigneault, we both watched him run. He's of that group, he was the biggest guy, in terms of build and size, and he moved really well. We thought he was going to fall off around round 4, and he only finished 10 seconds.
And his clean and jerks were amazing. Like it was almost a muscle clean and a push press.
Yes.
And I will say this again about this event in general. I didn't see any no reps on the clean and jerks anywhere all 3 weeks. Maybe there were some out there and I missed them, but I did see a lot of athletes that were not hitting hip extension with the barbell overhead. And I don't know if that was a directive from the head judges or CrossFit to whatever to just let those reps go. But there were some athletes, Taylor and Alex Vigneault being 2 of them, who moved extremely well. And then there were other athletes that were just never finishing that hip position. And over 50 reps, that does add up. And we see that even with a longer workout, that these margins are small. So it was just a point of curiosity. I referenced it in Europe. I didn't say anything about it last week, but this week, and even there were some athletes towards the end of heats that where the spotlight was clearly on them, and they were nowhere near hip extension in that finishing position. And it was just interesting to me. I was thinking potentially the floor layout made it really hard on the judges because it was hard to get the 45-degree angle, so they were maybe more spot on. Whereas we could look straight down any of the lines from where we were standing on the floor, and you could just clearly see that it was not happening for some of these athletes, but the judges were not calling it. Now, big picture, I'd rather have inconsistency than sporadic judging, but at the highest level, especially with what happened with the step-ups, and knowing how critical the hip function is in general for humans, I want to see them making the calls and making the athletes have the hip extension.
A very good point. And there's only a couple no reps I saw, but they weren't for hip extension. It was like, I think there was one athlete that actually he dropped the bar behind him and he got a no rep for that, which is exactly great. That was awesome. It was perfect.
I like this point a lot from Jason Isaacs, because he's right. Like, we've seen now across the board guys like Will the Super Next, Lucas Vuniak, Chris Ibarra, Austin Hatfield, who we're going to talk about in a second, that are small guys who had great workouts, Colton Mertens. And then you see other guys, bigger dudes, Lazar Jukic, Yella Hoste, Vigneault, some of the bigger Hopper, Krennikov, great workouts. And then you see guys right down the middle, like Jeff Adler, and who we'll talk about here in a minute as well. So really, I think this is a great observation from Jason of this was a great workout. And if you have not listened to Boz and Pat Sherwood talk on the Very Not Random podcast, they released it earlier this week. They recorded it after Europe, and you love this stuff. Like, that is absolutely worth a listen. This was actually the first workout that they put in place for this weekend, and I think that it's one of the better ones, and that's a great testament to it right there.
Really set the tone. And it's so funny because he brings up, size of athletes. If you look at the top 20, Jack Rose is probably the smallest of the old athletes in the top 20, and a 12th place finish. I think
maybe Hatfield, dude.
I forgot about that. I'm sorry. You're right. I think Hatfield, they might be similar. I don't know what we got here. He's listed at 69 inches. Austin is 67. So okay, so about 2 inches. So,
Well, this just
but
parlays
no,
into
still a
this
great job.
this final heat of men. And I see these comments here that you guys could only see the clean and jerks. And I mean, obviously, it was nice to be able to pop out and watch the running workout. Offsite events are hard to cover in CrossFit. It is a bummer. Like even us, we're not able to watch them run the entire 800. We're just popping out there and seeing maybe 100 meters worth of that 800-meter run at a time. And it's a little bit of a bummer, but still, this workout was, and this heat in particular, was one of the more dynamic and exciting heats, especially in a 20-plus minute workout that I've seen maybe ever.
I mean, you had 8 guys finish under 22 minutes. Wasn't that one of the prop bets in Heat 1?
It was, and I actually, I didn't want to forget the prop bets this week. I hope I don't forget them because they populate them every day, and sometimes there's a new one. But I think they're actually doing a better job of getting push notifications out also. But you know how it is. Sometimes the days just go by. And but I was looking at that one closely and I was thinking about it. And it's just so hard to make that call because all the running courses are different. So there's not really any real data to go on. Like you can look in one place and see like, oh, in Europe, they were all under 22 minutes. Well, in Asia, nobody was under 22 minutes. In Australia, only the best were under 22 minutes. And I knew the course was a truer to an 800. I knew there were some hills up and down, different undulations. I knew there's some great runners here, and I had no idea what to pick on the prop bet. So that's a pretty good one, I would say. And I did not get it right.
Yeah, it said event 1 athletes go sub 22 minutes. The popular pick was 11 to 20 athletes at 20 points. I guess it's So and then if you pick 6 to 10, you got 15 points. So
I was on 6 to 10. I switched it to the 1 to 5.
I went up. I think I picked the other one, but I mean, Adler, he had like we talked about in our quick recap, had a probably about 25-meter lead when he came in, and then he was doing singles, and then Roman came in.
The thing is that Adler surprised me on this workout because he made his move on the second run. The first run, he came in first. Roman was right, like rubbing shoulders with him. Hatfield was right behind. Hopper was there. Panchik was running at the same pace as them, and so was Morad, I think, but at a different part of the field. But those 4 guys came in as the top 4 seeds, so they were all pretty close to each other. And the second time they came back in from the run, Adler he made a statement, and then Roman and Hatfield was still kind of close. But as every round wore on, it looked like, okay, Adler and Roman have something different for this workout than the rest of these guys.
Yeah. And Rubbin's racing. Because you mentioned that you saw there was some contact in the second round or whatever, but we're not getting into that. I mean, Roman had as soon as it was done, they both came over, hugged each other, laughed, had the sportsmanship. So I think they've accepted that this is how it's going to be. I mean, when you have 2 highly competitive people like that, it happens. But Roman just coming in and just ripping off those 10 touch and goes. It was quite the, he'd already lost. He could have eased off, but he kept on going. The crowd was cheering him on and loved it. His wife was behind me screaming and yelling. And, he turned around, like you said, he didn't look tired. It looked like he could have won a couple more rounds and at that same pace. He was one of the few athletes that weren't laying on the ground, or sitting on his plates on his barbell. He looked great.
Yeah. And, 2 things there. Another person who loved watching that is Jeff Adler, because Adler will not waste energy if he doesn't need to or at any point in a competition.
Nope.
He understands that it doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile, a second or a minute. And so watching a guy who can no longer beat him go 10 touch and go when nobody else can beat that guy, he's probably smiling and thinking, you do that, Roman, waste your energy, spend that little extra because I'm going to save mine. I cruised in on those last 10 clean and jerks. Now, I did talk to Benoit Boulanger, and he told me, he's like, hey, as good as Jeff looked on that, he was still hurting. And I think it's important. I've been thinking about this the last couple of weeks. We watch these guys and girls compete so often in this sport and do so many incredible things that I think sometimes we make light of how impressive it is, how good they are, and also how bad they're willing to hurt. All of these guys were hurting. I know Roman made it look easy at the end and maybe whatever, but when you went to talk to him, where was he going? To cool down immediately.
Yep.
These
Going to the
guys
bike.
are obviously physical beasts, but they're also mental warriors, and they're willing to go into that pain cave. And I think that, and especially this next group that we talked about, they had no choice.
Yeah, Jason, this has been something that me and Brian's noticed. It's been an evolution since 2021 games, where he kind of just like, you know what, I'm going to live on an Echo bike. And then he started working with Henshaw, and we saw him kind of transform himself. And now he's become this machine where it's like you can throw anything at him, especially when it comes to aerobic capacity. And he's going to win these, especially these couplets and triplets that include running or any type of aerobic capacity work. It's a tribute to him, his coach, and his supplementary coaches as well, that he's been able to transform himself into this athlete where before he was a strength-based athlete. So it's something we're seeing in other athletes that they're doing. It's something I thought that an athlete we're going to talk about later on, I thought was making that turn, but apparently he didn't have a very good day one.
Well, and I just want to add one more thing about Adler, because
Yeah.
obviously the way the CrossFit Games ended last year was just tough. Like no one wants to see that. I mean, Adler obviously he's going to take the win anyway. I mean, it's what he's been training for forever. But it's just like it leaves you with this just like what if, because it was so exciting. It was going to be so good. And I think that he's really taken probably an unfair hit from that in terms of analysts, media, etc., ourselves included. Like he is the champ. And I know he didn't win in Rogue, but he was in the mix and in the fight. And I think that he's at the point in his career where even if you don't think he's a favorite at every competition he's going to go to, if you don't think that he has a chance to win at any competition that he shows up to, you are underestimating how well-rounded, how talented, and how fierce of a competitor Jeff Adler is. And I was reminded of that in person today. I was like, okay, because I know that we had talked about it, and I still have this sneaky feeling about Dallin this weekend. But if he wants to win, or anyone wants to win, you have to go through this guy, and it's not an easy task.
Well, it's that champion's advantage. It's that confidence you get for being a champion. Like, I'm hoping we see that in Laura Horvath. We could say the same thing about her, but once you gain that, you kind of gain an air of confidence, and I think Jeff has that now. It's like he didn't win Rogue, but the thing is, he still walked around with that swagger. He still had fun. He was still, it doesn't matter. It's for him, it's like the games matter. So, but a great point on Jeff, and you're right. There are some analysts, and sometimes including us, that discount that, but he's definitely on a mission, and he might be keeping receipts, and if he is, then wait for him to cash
A lot
those
of
in.
people, a lot of people keeping receipts this year.
Exactly, a lot of people. Again, we mentioned Roman, but I think the real cool battle that we saw was, Hatfield came in third in that run, but then he was followed by Saxon and Will, and Austin kind of
Hopper. Those were those four guys. Those four guys from round 2 through the end of the workout were kind of jostling for positions. I thought that the MCs on the floors, Mike and Larry, they did a really good job of keeping the audience on site, kind of abreast of what was going on, because they were kind of spaced out around the floor a little bit, with Saxon and Will on one side, and then Austin straight across from them, and then Jason off to his left on a different part of the square there.
Yeah.
And it was wild.
It was.
And I didn't know amongst those guys who was going to take it. I thought at first it was going to be Jason, then I thought it was going to be Saxon, then I thought it was going to be Will.
I was going to be
at the
Will.
end, Saxon flexed a little bit of his muscle there.
He did. I thought it was going to be Will, because Will seemed like he was moving really smooth, and then Saxon, Will said it himself. It's like Saxon, you don't want to get in a bar cycling contest with any pan check, and he knew that. And what a great race. And then Austin kind of hung in there and was able to hold off Jason there, who Jason just, Jason gave it a shot. I mean, he went a few times went touch and go on that, as Austin was doing like singles and pausing for like 5 seconds. It was like, it hit him. Those last 5 reps were really hard on Austin, and really showed he was stepping back on some of those.
Yeah. And I mean, this is that fight that I was talking about, is that these guys, they, Boz talked about it on his show with Sherwood. He said, like, it's not, by accident this year that this was the only workout. Like, we knew that these guys would see that and have to go for it. There's no excuse not to. And so several of them tried to go touch and go and tried to hang on. And most of them were not able to. They would get 6, 7, 8 reps in and then drop. And then it was like, wow, like everything's catching up to me, but I have only 2 reps to go. And like, you could see in their body language, even Taylor Self on his last rep, I was like, just pick it up and get it done. Like, wait to hurt. And in the meantime, Dallin Pepper was just snaking his way up this field round after round after round. And he has put more miles in on the road with Torres over the last 3 years. And he said this year specifically that he got a compliment from a fellow athlete today that said, man, you're a good runner. And that must have been such a good feeling for someone who definitely did not believe that about themselves a few years ago, to have this performance. He's still only 22. It's like Alex Kazan. I like see these guys. I'm like, you're 22. What? I mean, it's crazy. He comported himself extremely well in this workout. Like I said, I spoke with Benoit, and he said it himself. But Dallin outpaced me on this workout. And Benoit, he said, I think that outside of Jeff and Roman, we all got sucked in, that lead group all got sucked into a pace that was beyond us. He goes, we all finished that first round in 4 minutes. And my time was almost 22 minutes. That means that the rest of the rounds, I was averaging 30 seconds slower than the first round. That's too fast. Dallin didn't do that. Dallin, I think if Halpin or someone's out there and wants to see the split times, I bet his split times were consistent with a little spike in the last round, where he was able to pass a few guys on both the run and the barbell. So I thought that this was, for a guy who I kind of made this like proclamation that he might actually be able to win this thing, perfect start, on par with Laura Horvath.
Yeah. Good. That's a parallel. You mentioned Benoit. I mean, this is a guy who can, not a lot of people were talking about him heading into it, but I don't want to say he's a training partner with Adler. He's definitely coached by Caroline Lambray.
They get together. To do some training a few times throughout the year. And when Hinja comes up there, he's able to join in on those sessions, which is invaluable, of course. But they're not in the gym every day, throwing down, but they do get together every once in a while, obviously, so Carolyn can get eyes on him. And, for Benoit, how fortunate is that to be able to get those training sessions in every once in a while with the champ. We talked about him on Wednesday, and we said, this is a guy that he's been building towards something great. And, people can do that and never have that something great happen. But a great start for Benoit, the guy that we didn't talk about at all earlier today, that I was impressed with from a body language perspective throughout this workout. No, was Tyler. I don't know how close. I mean, that last heat it was so stacked. You could easily watch that heat and just completely forget that guys like Alexander Caron or Tyler Christofel or Luke Parker were even out there competing, because it was just so good. But I saw Tyler, because he was on the far side of the floor from me, and when he came back down, every time he looked like he knew what he was doing, and he never looked like he was deteriorating the way we talked about some other athletes.
So I spent a lot of time on the course. The first 3 rounds I spent on the course at different points of the course. And there was, like I said, there's groupings. And the Mayhem crew was almost like a NASCAR team, where they were grouped together. And Tyler was leading that group. And then the second round would come around, and it'd be somebody else, like Luke Parker was ahead of that group. So they're almost like jockeying and drafting off each other. But then he kind of broke away. He must have broken away the 4th and 5th round from that group, because if you look at that group, in that group was Caron, it was Samuel, it was Luke, it was Dre, it was Spencer, and it was also Seth Stovall. But he obviously separated himself from that group. And I was standing there with some of the Mayhem people, and they're like, he's been putting in the work, and this is a really good finish for Tyler. 10th. It shows that he's, and this is a guy who's not really known for his cardio work, but very impressive. I mean, I wouldn't have picked Tyler over Taylor, but again, they're in different heats. But just good performance by Tyler. He's one of those bubble athletes. He's always been missing out. He's always one of those last athletes in. But what a great way to start the competition for him.
And I think this year's competition is probably the best slate of workouts that he's personally seen in a while. With this kind of a start, I mean, you mentioned Drestrom and Seth Stovall, like they
Yep.
were relatively close to him early on in the workout. Well, they finished
Yep.
22nd and 23rd
Mhm.
on that workout. And we talked about that points gap. You know, he's logging 73 points. If you're finishing down there, it's 34. It's half the points.
Yeah.
That last 2 rounds was critical for him. And, you know, look again at we've only had one workout, but there's a ton of, you know, guys that everyone is expecting to make the games that are already in the top 10. Well, he's going to be in that heat tomorrow, and he's going to have an opportunity on 2 workouts that we know are important to test himself against those guys that he wants to join this summer in at the games in Fort Worth. I think this was a perfect start for Christofel. I was really impressed with his composure. I was really impressed with his body. He looked really lean. His beard was on point, extremely well-tailored beard, by the way.
Yeah.
So not that he ever doesn't look good. So I was really encouraged by the start by Christofel, Benoit, Rosama, and even Alexander Caron. I think that's a solid start for him. He's a guy kind of. I saw someone put something up earlier like Will Morad. This guy just won't go away. Like Caron is a little bit like
Same
that
way,
too. Where, you know, you don't want this guy lurking around if you're trying to make your first games and he's just on the outside heading into Sunday. So even through one event, the leaderboard's already starting to look pretty spicy.
Okay. So let me go to that. I mean, you brought up Seth, Dre. I mean, Ben Smith. You know, fittest man of the earth on earth.
Not a bad workout for Ben or Marquand Jones. I thought they did quite well there.
Their better workouts are still coming up. I mean,
same with guys like Will Carter and Jake Berman.
Yeah, you know, their better workouts are coming up. But the guy I want to look at and kind of bring to your attention is Jack Farlo.
Yeah, it's you know it's pretty hard not to notice this. He's definitely lost weight. He definitely looks lean. But from the first round, he was never in the fight. And it's kind of only got worse from there. I had like kind of flashbacks to watching Yona, and obviously Yona has a much different pedigree and history than Farlo, but it was surprising. It was just surprising that he finished here. Like a 20th place, fine. A 10th place was kind of more what I was expecting. A 34th place, I did not see that coming. And this field, even more so than Europe, is one that a 34th place finish, I just don't know. Like that is scary to me.
It is, and then just the way he did, like his body language did not look like someone who wanted to be on that floor. And there was a couple of athletes that, like, when he came in, and he, you know, everyone else was done, and he was the last one. A lot of them did a double take. Like what, you know? So, I mean, he nearly almost got lapped by Adler. So. But
well, yeah, I mean, he was 5 minutes behind him, and Adler was averaging 4-minute laps. So
yeah, so he essentially
4 minutes
did probably. But I mean, it's not over for Jack by all means. There's still some home runs out there. I mean, we said that about a lot of athletes. I mean, that's just how stacked this field is. We cannot say that enough, how stacked this field is, because it's just great. If you know, and I can't wait for you guys, everyone listening. They actually get to broadcast tomorrow. And they get to watch the actual broadcast, and hopefully, you know, I'm sure Adrian and Sean are going to do a great job of talking about all this. So, yeah, just fun and exciting stuff. Anything else you want to say about the men? I'll go ahead.
Well, just if you think about what happened to him there, he's got 12 points, and you need to have probably in the neighborhood of 350 to 400 points to make it to the games, just based on the depth of this field and what we've seen over the first 2 weeks. So he's going to need to average somewhere between a 10th and 12th place finish the rest of the way, and a couple of those are going to have to be that, you know, winning the snatch ladder. A top 5 in the final type of a closing performance that we saw from Tudor Magda on the last day. Now, he could do it. He's absolutely a guy that could do it. But certainly a big mental challenge, regardless of what happened today. And assuming that he's healthy, regardless of what happened today in the competition that caused that result, he needs to rebound from that. He needs to put that behind him and go forward with the confidence that he probably had to start this weekend. Because if he's not in it mentally against this field, then there's no chance.
Yeah, agree. All right. moving on to the team. So we had 3 team workouts today, and it was fun. I mean, it was again, it was just fun. It was a great competition all the way around today. No surprise here. They might say otherwise, but Peak 360 looking dominant, 3 for 3 today. Yeah, I mean, your initial thoughts about Peak 360, Brian?
Yeah, I mean, if you guys are following along with like the picks that I'm making, I'm trying to spread the love. Clearly, they're a team that you could pick for any workout, everywhere you look. I did get the chance to go on the podcast for the lifting event today. I was not surprised at all that they won the first event. That workout just sets up for individual athletes who are, to be able to flex their muscles on a variety of different skills between the rope climb, the handstand push-up, and the bike, and then the handstand walk. The second workout, we've just seen people make mistakes on that over and over and over again and miss those jerks. And the athletes, I mean, their athletes were perfect in execution. I mean, and their jerks looked so good. The technique really showing through, especially on that last barbell for Noah and Tola, where the receiving positions were great. There wasn't really any doubt about it. Tola sets the record, which it's like people, you never want to take something like that for granted, despite the fact that we know he's strong. Like you still have to go out there and do that. And if you were looking at the workouts today, if you had to ask a question, it would be, how's Tola going to run? And then in the meantime, he's still lifting better than anyone else we've seen in the team competition through 3 weeks, this takes me back to 2015-16 with Froning when he first started embarking on this. What happens if I do Hinshaw's running? What's going to happen to my lifting? Well, he shows up at the invitational and snatches 300 pounds. So we've seen it before, and we're seeing it here with Tola. I was really impressed with their lifting. And then on the running, they started in a stagger. That means that 20 athletes went out, and 20 seconds later, 20 more athletes went out. And after 800 meters, the first 4 athletes back in were their teammates.
As a team. It wasn't just like Lena or like 1 or 2. We saw that in earlier heats. They came back as a team, and almost similar like how Invictus did it, where they were like almost purposely running like a group. Like if you imagine them holding a rope or something to keep them as a team, they were doing that. Maybe Lena was out front, but I think actually they were basically like using Tola as the rope. They're holding on to him or pushing him. But Tola, he looked good. I mean, it was just great. It was just crazy that they beat the basically like the 20-second start that the other group had.
Yeah, so they were phenomenal, and we'll see. I mean, if anyone wants to beat them on any workouts this weekend, they're going to have to earn it because they look really, really good, and they have 4 insanely talented athletes on that team. I mean, obviously, Matilda's been to the games a couple times. Lena's got 3 team podiums in her career, and she seems to be getting stronger and better at the same time, which is amazing.
Healthy.
Yeah, they looked good. They sounded good in the conversations we had with them. Yeah, they're, this weekend, it's going to be hard to beat them in any singular event. I was reflecting on last weekend a little bit, and as good as the Invictus team looked at the games last year, it's hard to say that this team they have this year isn't on par with that team or better. I mean, Lauren and Chandler, Jessie Smith is the question mark, but she's looked amazing. So, it's really kind of, we're getting kind of set up for this situation that we had a couple of years ago where there were 3 teams from around the world that all dominated their region. And when it came to the games, it was like, okay, well, who is the top dog here? But as far as the East goes right now, Peak's leaving no doubt that they're the team to beat, and no one's going to beat them in this competition. The question is, will anyone beat them in any workout?
Yeah. Before we talk about Mayhem, I mean, 8th Day CrossFit. Their motto was chasing ghosts, and the reason why they're chasing ghosts is because they're in the 3rd heat, so they're beating teams in their own heat by 2, 3, 4 minutes in these workouts, and here they're sitting at 3rd. That's just crazy, because imagine what their results would be if they were in that first heat going against some of these teams. They would probably be in 2nd, or maybe that point gap between them and Peak 360 we look at now, it's like 36 points. Maybe it's not 36 points. Maybe it's more like 20 or 15. But 8th Day CrossFit, just so impressive, and just the way that it approaches the mindset. It's just I'm amazed by it. I'm a fan.
Oh yeah, I mean this is a strong team. They're strong on paper. They were the one team in that first heat that I was looking at as saying that's probably the only team. It was similar to Gemer in France and for Europe that could come out of that first heat and actually challenge for a game spot. They're not just challenging for a game spot. I mean, it was a commanding and impressive performance in their heat. And like you said, on 3 successive workouts, it held up as an impressive performance. Overall, just knowing the athletes on that team, I'm not surprised that the lifting was their lowest result, still a top 10. And I think that there's every reason for people to believe they're going to have 2 more top 5 finishes tomorrow, just given what those workouts are. So 8th day CrossFit they had probably the best day of any team or individual today, bumping up from, I think, the 27th qualifier to 3rd. Again, Michael Pass was not on their team for quarterfinals. I didn't know that until today. He's a seasoned veteran and a great leader in team competitions for them and has been for a long time. But if you're, remembering what we talked about, that there were probably 20 teams there that should come into this weekend with a belief that they can make it into one of those top 8 spots, that's been cut down to 11 in one day. And, teams like 8th day are making it hard for a lot of other teams.
And it's just I love the makeup of that team. You brought up Michael, but then you have someone with the experience of Danielle Dunlap, and then you bring someone that I've always liked, Dylan Hamming, who's kind of been an individual athlete, but he finally is like, you know what, I'm going to go team, and he looks like he's having fun out there, and I'm like, I think he found a home, and he's a bigger athlete too, and it's that whole group. I mean, Rachel Clausing's on that, and she's a veteran too, so it's just like it's a good mixture of athletes, and it looks like they truly get along very well. And they're having fun out there, and I think I hope that stays, that way tomorrow. But because I still think they have
the average age of that team is like 35.
Yeah,
so they're all over 30. So it's a very veteran team. But the other thing is they just look like they're clicking. Despite the fact that they weren't really competing with anyone in that heat, they looked like they were in sync with each other. I'm excited to watch them in the top heat in a middle lane tomorrow against teams that we're expecting to be battling for championships, podiums, top 10s at the very worst in terms of 360 and Mayhem.
Yeah. And let's talk about that team. Let's talk about Mayhem. I mean, a couple of fifths, and you would think, okay, I mean, it's not really Mayhem-like, especially at event 1. I thought they were going to do a little bit better in that. Event 2, I mean, they're not the strongest team. I think Angelo and, Angelo and I'm drawing a blank. Freaking
Sam,
they definitely hold their own when it comes to the weight. I mean, I think they both hit over 300 pounds on the complex. But then event 3, they came out and they gave Peak 360 a little bit of rate. I mean, Peak 360 was getting to their worm first, but Mayhem was not that far from behind. And I'm sure, just like any Mayhem team, you get a Mayhem team on a worm, there's probably nothing better than that. I mean, they're probably some of the best when it comes to like cycling a worm.
For sure. I mean, even their Liberty team that struggled with running today, once they got inside and they had the worm thrusters, it was like a easy day for them, no problem at all.
So I think it's going to be cool to watch. I think Mayhem 8th day. I really think it's really those 2 teams that I'm looking for tomorrow. I think a couple of these other teams we thought would be in the podium, they made some errors here and there, or they had some something unfortunate happen. But I'm interested to see that battle. We'll talk CrossFit 1124. You were able to talk to them early on. This is a fun team to watch. Very fun team to watch.
Super fun, great interview with them up on online, I believe, if you guys want to check it out and get to know them a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, I was expecting them. I picked them to do well in the lifting event. It was their best event, but they had top 10s across the board. And we see pretty much as soon as you get past Reignited in 5th, that's where a lot of the volatility comes in, where there was some good and some bad. So those top 5 teams, I think, had very steady days today. And 1124 of those teams is the least pedigreed in terms of an affiliate or even their individual athletes being on some of them on the younger side. So great start and good demeanor. Like talking to them was easy after they finished the running event, which I thought they did fine and to salvage a 9th place finish there.
They were worried about that. They really were.
Yeah, so fun to watch them, and yeah, I think they're in a great spot. Again, based on what I saw today, based on what we know about them, no reason that I don't think they'll have two more good events tomorrow, and are likely to take one of those 8 spots.
Yeah. The team, I mean, CrossFit Reignited, they're a staple when it comes to, teams events. So I mean, they're steady right there. The team that I
Well,
want,
I just will say is like Stevie Dellinger did not look great coming off the floor on the
he
final
did
tonight.
right. Yeah.
So we'll keep an eye on that. They looked really good throughout the workout. I don't know what happened. I don't know if it was in the workout or after. I don't know if it
Mhm.
was body, being depleted from a tough day of competition or
Yeah.
something else happened while running or squatting. Hoping for the best for her because that's a really strong team.
Mhm.
Uh, Shaylin's had a couple unlucky things happen in the past couple seasons, so I would hate to see something like that again. But from competition standpoint, really good, really solid, and hoping that we'll see that again tomorrow.
Speaking of unlucky, Ocean State CrossFit Surge, another team that we thought would be a top 3 team battling for that spot. They still have a chance, but that 15, they received the penalty. They had to drop the bag and do, I forgot what the penalty was, but it's burpees over the worm. So that really hurt them. I mean, I think they finished last in that heat. But
Yeah, and it
they're
looked,
sitting there. They're still sitting there pretty comfortably. I mean, Christine Middleton certainly helps when you have her, in that lineup. I mean, she hit a what was it two? What she hit 245?
She hit 245. So did
Mhm,
Gabrielle Acker on Training Think Tank. But the
mhm.
guys had good lifts too. Ethan Strong and Josh Mattis had a nice
Mhm.
lift there. Obviously, they had a second place tie for second with 11:24.
Yeah,
So they bounced back well from an unfortunate event one. I don't think we'll see anything that bad tomorrow. If I'm a team that's outside right now that's looking to push in, I'm looking at the teams in 7th and 8th as the opportunities. I feel like barring something strange, those top 6 teams are pretty good in general and will be hard to unseat. But that's not to say that any of these teams down through 11th didn't have good days today.
yeah. I mean, Pro One obviously had that 21st. I mean, they've never been known as a team that just lifts very heavy, anyways. And they're a veteran team. I mean, anytime you have a Mayhem team, I mean that Mayhem team from Canada, that they're
Well, there are 2 Mayhem teams from Canada in this group.
yeah
So Somos
most. Yep.
Mayhem and then Levi Mayhem that's down in 10th. And I
Mhm.
thought through the first 2 events that Levi had actually looked better, but
That's
Somo
what I
ends up
thought.
in the better position here. They
Mhm.
take they end up in 7th at the end of the day, and Levi's outside looking in.
Mhm.
The problem is you see these teams like Training Think Tank is they're not going to have another 20th place finish tomorrow. The
No.
running, I don't know if it was a amplified by the earlier workouts, but it
Mhm.
just didn't look good. And certainly, if they make the games, they need to spend some time there because it's not up to par with the rest of their fitness. But the rest of their fitness is good. Those athletes are good. Jordan Adcock, Gabriel Acker, as I mentioned, Chris
Yeah.
Nizowski, tough name, and Nick Reed. I expect that they'll be good tomorrow. And that Milford Conquer Black team, anytime you see CrossFit Milford, you know
Mhm.
and you're trying to beat them, like it's honestly it's not a great situation. They've been sneaky good with different teammates for a long time, and I think that it's awesome to see the Canadian teams because Eastern Canada has a super deep CrossFit history and population of competitive athletes there. But if those are the 2 teams that you have to unseat to get those spots, Training Think Tank is in right now, Milford is out. It's going to be tough. It's going to be a battle, and it's going to demand 2 excellent workouts.
Yeah. But we have 2 workouts tomorrow. Should be anything like last week. I mean, especially those teams trying to gain those last couple spots. It's going to come down to that last event. Um, I mean, both events. I mean, that last event. I mean, the first event tomorrow is the one that featured all the squats. That was something that was, yeah, yeah. Some people weren't.
Of those teams down on the bubble, I'm picking TTT and Pro 1 on the opening workout tomorrow, and I think that that's going to make even that gap a little bit tighter. But then for
Yeah,
the last workout, I like the Levi and
Milford.
Milford teams. So I think that those spots that you're looking at there, 7 through 11, that's where the race for the cut line on the team side is probably going to be. And I think between the two events we have tomorrow, we're going to see some shifting, and we're going to see a battle. That last workout we know is a workout where teams can absolutely send it, and they will send it with everything on the line. So it's going to be a fun one. The interesting thing is going to be in other regions, the top teams that have been in pretty comfortable positions have kind of faded a little bit. But here, I think these top teams are going to be pretty tough. And so that last workout for the teams is going to be fun. The last heat.
Yeah, definitely. We're gonna hit on this real quick because there's not much details coming out besides the leaderboard. But in Africa semifinal, it ended right around like morning time for us. Caleb Deeble, a guy that you picked that you thought was going to do really good in this workout, winning that race, followed by Keelan Henry. I think it's a really good that's a good finish for Keelan. He's not known as, he's kind of a smaller athlete, not a long stride, but it's he finishes second. And then
Deeble is actually on the smaller side as well. And then Ruans, both the Ruans are a little bit bigger guys. Yeah.
Yep.
So
175. Yeah.
But with the exception of Josh Kernot there, the other 4 guys that finished in the top 5 are 4 of the guys that I picked in the top 5. So that's just overall speaking to the fact that in Africa, if you're trying to make the games, you can't have a bad finish. And those 4 guys got off to good starts, which is exciting if you're hoping to see a good competition there, because as long as those 4 guys are staying competitive with each other, Sunday in Africa is going to be really fun for the men.
Yeah. On the women's side, someone that you originally picked to win, but then you switched it to the person that's in second. I'm sticking with. I love Gilmari. Just not, I love her as a pick to win this because of just her the amount of competition experience that she's gotten over the last year, and she. As expected, I picked her to win this event. I'm sure I think you did as well, winning in 23:50, almost about 45 seconds better than Gemma Rader. So Gemma, who trains out of Abu Dhabi at CrossFit Yaz. So yeah, it seems like a good race going on.
Yeah, and look, it's early in the competition, but those are 2 of the favorites coming in, and just like on the guys' side, Tanya Buff as well. They're in 4th, one of the top 5 athletes, I think, in that region this year. And they all got off to good starts. Emma Holiday was a woman that we don't really know too much about that had a great qualifier. I think 8th place is a solid finish for her. And then down in 12th, Livada Taikis, who it kind of feels like her time has been coming in Africa. Again, not off to a great start here, and she's going to need to have not just good performances, but those other women to have some stumbles along the way, because it's one of these regions like we've seen in South America and Asia in the past, where one bad performance is more harmful because of the lack of depth of field compared to something like North America East.
Yeah, and then I'm really surprised by these 2 being at the bottom. There has to be something wrong with that, but I don't know. But
yeah, I saw that too, and I
really
wonder if we can. We don't know too many people out there this year. Maybe we can ask Marius and see. But that was not what I was expecting, and it doesn't seem right. Like, that seems like an injury or something weird.
Yeah, it'd be interesting. Both sisters getting injuries or something. And leading on the team side, really no surprise there. CrossFit Tiger Valley Relentless, 2 firsts and a second.
Yeah, but the team behind them, Humble. What is that? Humble, Hungry.
Yep.
Man, there's too many words in that team name. There should be a limit on
Humble, Hungry, Driven Team Quest Tiger Fit. Yeah. But yeah, it looks like a two team race there. So
yeah, nothing but first or second for either one of those teams. The team behind them, 4th, 3rd, 3rd, not bad, but not good enough. So there's races at the top. I still think that it's kind of clear that the 1 spot is appropriate there for now. But at least there's exciting races. At least it's not one team just completely obliterating everyone. And I think that the individuals are shaping up kind of how we would expect. Obviously, we'll know a lot more after day 2.
Yeah, nothing updated on the leaderboard yet for South America.
Actually, I texted you the competition corner link.
Okay.
The CrossFit Games leaderboard for South America is not updated. Obviously, they've finished their day of competition there, the same as everyone else.
Let me pull this up. Brian,
Lynn, you better
yeah,
find us tomorrow, Lynn. I have your shirt.
yeah.
No excuses. You can
Okay, let
find
me.
us. We're around and we want to see you. Yeah, but it's in South America. It's gonna be similar to Africa, except that there's a lot of there's opportunity this year with the extra spots there. On the
Okay.
men's side,
All right,
as
the men,
expected, yeah, Kelly and
Kalian.
Souza is
Yep.
a great runner. I mean, I saw him in a sand clash, and he pulled away from Luka Jukic, who's a good runner, Artur Semenov, who's a good runner, and so I'm not surprised to see him win here. When you start scanning down the leaderboard, though, of the guys that we talked about with Sergio yesterday, Bruno Marin's
Mm-hmm.
names pops up.
Yep.
Guimaeros, 10 spots better on event one than he was last year. To me,
That's a good start.
it's almost like it's job done. The fact that they
Mm-hmm.
have one extra spot and he was 10 spots better with as good as he was in the rest of the workouts at the semifinal last year, and as good as he was at Wadapalooza, and as good of a headspace that I believe that he is in right now based on the conversations I had with him in Miami. That's exactly what I was looking for Guimaeros today.
Yeah. And kind of like Keiki is there in 13th.
This is
Almost like
almost an inverse situation
exactly.
from Guy last
Yep.
year.
Yep. Kind of the same thing. So, so good start. Looks like again, Guy's best events are coming up. So it'll be interesting to watch what unfolds there. Again, they get 3 spots, and should be fun. On the women's side,
I was just trying to scan here because Sergio had told us about Enrique Morera. He ended up coming in 11th.
mm-hmm.
And I was trying to find Agustin Raquel, my 35th on that. No
That's
idea what happened there, but that guy is way too fit to be having a
fit to be, yeah.
35th, and he's the top qualifier coming in, and that's
Interesting.
that you can't make up from that in South America. We saw Guy unable to do it with a slam dunk 5 events after a 16th last year. I mean, that's just
It really is. Moving on to the women's side. Hey, what a day to be a Peak 360 athlete. Laura Gonzalez, who trains out of Peak 360, someone that I think she's a coach there, out there in Miami, but trained alongside Noah, all those guys there. Wins the run 22:44. Another notable name, Julia Cato, who we were unsure about because obviously she's someone that comes out of this region, made it to the games in 2022 out of this region. She finishes 4th, which is not great, a great finish for her. Some of these other names, I'm not sure.
The other names towards the top, not names that we talked about. We know that that there's always athletes coming up there. If you scroll down a little bit, we'll see Pinheiro in 6th. She's an athlete we had our eyes on. Victoria Campos in 8th. I will expect this to be her worst finish of the weekend, and it'll be a climb up towards the top. Gabriel Luque qualified great, finished 11th. Emily Andrade, who we expected to be in the mix, she takes 12th. And we'll have to wait and see. Luisa Marquez and Amanda Fusuma, also names we talked about in our preview, 26th and 27th, not going to get the job done in South America.
No.
So you're really looking at people like it's tough. It's not, I don't want to say it's impossible, but it's tough if you're outside of the top 15 on any workout there. Now, this year they do have an extra spot, so maybe we can bump that down a little bit. But if you're doing that, you're going to need to bounce back with a couple of top performances. In the meantime, we have some names that we weren't expecting getting off the great starts, and we know that momentum's a real thing in this sport. So Laura Gonzalez is not an unfamiliar name for us, even though we didn't really talk much about her. Let's see what she can do coming off an event win to start things down there in Brazil.
Yeah, it'll be interesting because I know she has the fitness in terms of like the aerobic capacity, and she's proved it here. So it'll be interesting to see what she does on the other workouts. She is pretty decent in gymnastics, so it'll be interesting. On the team front,
yeah, I mean, look, I don't know a ton about the depth of the teams here, but 3 of the teams that I expected to be in the hunt are in the top 3 after 3 events, and those are good teams. They've all have had teams at the games before in different years. 2 of them were there last year, and this team, King team, that's in 4th, I don't know them very well. Maybe they'll do something surprising tomorrow, but if I was putting money down, I would say the top 3 teams after day 1 are the best bets to make it to the games on day 2. If they have 2 spots, maybe they only have 2 spots for the teams.
I believe they only have 2.
Yeah, so I think that Victoria CrossFit there at the top is the favorites, and then is it AR1 now? Mayhem Unity team
Yep.
and the Temple SA team, which I think might have some Mayhem athletes on it also,
Correct.
are going to be battling for the 2nd spot. And we referenced it in our run up, and we'll talk about it again after semis finishes. But whereas HWPO individuals were really shining through in weeks 1 and 2, Mayhem has front and center stage on week number 3.
Yep.
Whether it's individuals or teams, there were 5 Mayhem teams in the last heat alone here. Obviously, there's at least one and maybe another one here that's battling for a game spot. So similar to a competition, you never want to count up all the numbers until everything is settled at the end of the day. But it looks like it's going to be a phenomenal week for Mayhem across the board.
Yeah, Lynn, I'm not hiding. I'm just a ninja. You gotta find me. I'll be, because the event was outside. I'm running around outside, in and out. But you'll see me. I'll probably be mainly on the floor, but I'll try to make it up to the upper level. So if you see me, stop by, say hi. It'd be fine. It'd be great to finally meet you. Let's see. I think that's it. So
if you want to find us on the top floor, it's much more likely to be on the lane 10 side. And you'll see us walking around by the finish line and the athlete exit area a lot. So if you get our attention, we'll come and find you guys. Or if just send me a DM or something if you want to say hi, and we'll come to you.
I'll probably think I'm going to wear the purple CrossFit sweatshirt tomorrow. So,
that doesn't stand out at all.
Not at all. When you have athletes saying, I'm just, at West Coast saying, I saw you in that purple sweatshirt and I just looked at you. I'm like, yeah. So, I should be easier to find tomorrow. So, all right. Hey, thanks everybody. We appreciate it as always. Tomorrow, again, tune in our Instagram. We'll be providing updates throughout the day. Tomorrow, the team competition ends. We'll do another recap tomorrow night. I believe tomorrow we're going on at 7:30. I think it's a later finish tomorrow.
I'm just waiting for you to tell me.
Yeah, I believe it's a later finish. I believe it's 7:30 is what we're looking at. But just check back with us. If you're a subscriber, you'll get the alerts. But if you don't know, just hit that freaking bell button, subscribe, and get alerts. But thanks for everything today. We'll be shooting out a lot of content tonight. Today and tonight. Tonight. We'll be putting out some content, so we appreciate it. If there's anything or anyone you want us to do, or like if there's a team or someone you think you would like to hear from, shoot us a DM. Let us know. We'll be more than happy to interview them, find out more about them, or find out some other things, because we all know who the popular athletes are, and that's great, and we're going to cover them. But it's some of the other athletes in the community that we want to talk about. And if you're within a 5-hour drive, wake up early. Come on out. Believe me, it is fun. They got a community event going on at the same time. CrossFit got seminars going on. The Northern Spirit booth. It was crazy.
It was slammed today.
Slam. I think they're basically about sold out of everything. But
at least the double XLs.
Yeah, at least the double XL. Oh man, I had the perfect Jordans to wear with that sweatshirt if they would have only had it. Yeah. But we appreciate it. Thanks for the support as always, and we'll see you tomorrow at some point. And be friendly, our friends.